The town of Whispering Pines was wiped off the map in 1987, not by disaster, not by war, just silence. It wasn't a ghost town in the usual sense. One day, it was a quiet little place with diners, gas stations, and kids riding their bikes home before sunset. The next, it was empty. Every man, woman, and child gone. No bodies, no signs of struggle. Just a hollow town, frozen in time. I know this because my uncle was one of the last people to drive through before it happened. He was a trucker, passing through late one night on his way to deliver lumber to a nearby city. He never liked talking about it. I think he was scared that speaking about it too much would make it come back. Before he died, he told me everything. And now, I wish I hadn't asked. My uncle had an old CB radio in his truck, tuned to the local frequency used by police and truckers. About 20 miles out from Whispering Pines, he started picking up static. That wasn't unusual. Sometimes he'd catch snippets of conversations from other drivers or cops patrolling the back roads, but this was different. Beneath the static, there was breathing, ragged, uneven, too close. Then a voice, "Help us, please." It was weak, almost drowned in the white noise. Then another voice, clearer this time, "They're here, don't look at them." My uncle slowed the truck as he entered town. The streets were empty, no movement, no streetlights, just the hum of his engine and the static on the radio. The first thing he noticed was the cars. They weren't abandoned in the usual way. They were stopped, mid-turn, mid-parallel park, mid-drive. Some had their doors wide open, keys still in the ignition, headlights beaming into the night. Shopping bags were spilled on sidewalks. A lawnmower stood in the middle of an overgrown yard, grass half cut. It was like time had simply stopped. Then his headlights caught something in the middle of the street. A man, standing perfectly still. Face turned away. My uncle's foot hovered over the brake. The man's posture was wrong, too rigid, too stiff, as if his joints had locked up mid-step. His hands were at his sides, fingers curled unnaturally tight, his breathing shallow. My uncle reached for his CB radio. "Hey, buddy, you okay?" The man twitched, a sharp, unnatural jerk, like a puppet with its strings pulled too hard. Then my uncle heard it, a whisper, not from the CB, not from outside, inside the truck. "They see you." The man in the road started to turn, not step, not pivot, just rotate. Too slowly, like something was winding him up from behind. My uncle's instinct screamed at him to leave. He threw the truck into reverse. As he did, his headlights swept across the storefronts lining the street, and that's when he saw them. People, not standing, not moving, pressed up against the glass. Dozens of them, lining the windows of the diner, the gas station, the pharmacy. Faces blurred, like frost on a windshield. Their hands were splayed against the glass, mouths open too wide, frozen in silent screams. Then, a light flickered above them. They moved, not smoothly, not naturally, jerkily, in sections, like film-missing frames. One moment, they were pressed to the windows. The next, they were closer, their fingers longer, their mouths wider. My uncle didn't wait to see more. He floored it in reverse until he was clear of town, then spun the truck around and sped off down the highway. The voices on the CB were screaming now, dozens of them. "Don't let them in. Don't listen to them. Don't look." Then, just before the radio went silent, a final whisper. "You brought something with you." The next morning, he called the authorities. The police went to investigate. They sent 6 squad cars. They found nothing. No people. No cars. Even the buildings looked wrong, like they'd been abandoned for decades instead of a single night. Paint peeling, windows shattered, rust eating through street signs. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of wet earth, like rain had just fallen, but the road was dry. The only thing they found was a single VHS tape in the middle of the street. It was unlabeled, scratched, warm to the touch. When they played it, the screen was nothing but static for the first 10 minutes. Then, one frame, the inside of a truck cab, my uncle's truck. The driver's seat, empty. The CB radio, hissing with static. The windshield, cracked like something had broken in. A shadow sat in the passenger seat. Not a person, not a figure, just a shape, something blurry and wrong, as if the camera refused to focus on it. The tape cut to black. The case was closed. No further investigation. No missing persons reports. It was like the town had never existed, but my uncle knew better. Sometimes, late at night, he'd turn on his CB radio and hear faint whispers beneath the static. And once, just once, he swore he saw a blurred face staring back at him from his rearview mirror. Mouth open, silent.